Thank you, David, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Again, my name is Ryan Pruchnic from Cook Myosite. Cook Myosite, our mission is to really make regenerative medicine as normal as it is in a patient and doctor interaction in the office as any other therapy, any drug option, any surgical or other therapeutic options, regenerative medicine as part of everyday medicine. When I graciously accepted the opportunity to speak today, I was thinking about what's a good chance or what's a good topic for us to talk about. And what I ultimately decided on is I'm just going to introduce maybe some of you for the first time to Cook Myosite, tell our story, and talk about the long road to a biological license. So at Cook Myosite, our technology is an autologous, unmodified, and cryopreserved muscle cell product that's used for a variety of muscle disorders. The cells come from the patient, obviously, and go back to the same patient. And that's what we've been working on for a very long time. Before I get in more into our technology and the applications of it, I don't know how many of you have actually heard of Cook Myosite, and based off of some of the conversations I've had this week, seems like very few of you. So maybe some of you would be surprised to know that we've actually been around for almost 20 years. We have over 17 years of clinical trial experience. We've treated over 650 patients with our technology for a variety of disorders, and we've worked in multiple regulatory regions with 11 clinical trials. We've worked in the US, Canada, parts of Europe, and also with the PMDA in Japan. Again, our technology and our focus and everything we do is muscle cells. That's really all we do, and we want to be really great at it. I talked about our mission, but in nearer term, our vision is to be the most trusted name in muscle cell technology. So when somebody thinks about working on muscle disorders or anything in the muscle biology field, think of Cook Myosite because we're so dedicated to doing that. And that's not only important for our clinical program, but it's important for other non-clinical things that we're doing. We work with researchers that we provide not only our expertise, but primary muscle cells from a variety of donors so that they could focus on their research and they don't have to worry about the procurement of tissue or getting the muscle cells that they may need for their platform of research. So we work with them. We provide, like I said, donors from different ages, different sex, different medical backgrounds, disease or non-disease tissues, and that's been really great to help advance research in other areas as well. But again, these cells that we work with, adult muscle cells, they're progenitor cells, and these are the cells that we believe through a lot of research that they're the ones that when upon an injury they become activated, and they are responsible for the repair and regeneration of damaged muscle tissue. So our goal is to really work with these cells, but keep them as close to what they naturally do in the body anyways. So one of the things about the Cook Myosite story is maybe a little bit of a different model than some of you have gone through, but when our parent company, Cook Incorporated, said, okay, let's kick this off, it was really an effort from the ground up. It was a grassroots effort, and that was really fun because back in the day there wasn't any blueprint for any of this, so we had to roll up our sleeves and work alongside our physician partners, figure out how to do the muscle biopsy because really, like anything, it's about the patient. So we designed a really robust training program for our physicians to make them comfortable. The biopsy and the tissue harvest step itself is it's not fun or anything. Nobody really wants to go through, but we try to make it as minimally discomfort for the patient themselves. The sample is about the size of your pinky tip. It's a 15-minute in-office procedure done under local anesthesia. This is where the 2.5 decades plus and going research really comes into the selection of these muscle cells that we believe are the ones that do the work when we put them back in the body into that damaged area. So the core of our technology is really getting that good starting sample like I just described, and then isolating these particular cells and then growing them from there. It's cell culture and it's the management of all the quality aspects that go into delivering a safe and efficacious product back to the patient. we cryopreserve the product because we want to make it so that we could treat patients globally. And of course, with the logistics of something that's not frozen, it's really difficult to manage that. So this is a frozen product, as I said a couple times, that once you get back into the physician's hands, he or she then takes it, thaws it, dilutes it with saline, and then injects it into the muscle tissue that we're trying to rebuild, to regrow, to repair in the process. And again, with the hopes of reaching patients around the world. The biopsy is one of the most important parts, and secondly, obviously, the administration is also a critical part. These cells don't migrate once you put them in the body, so we have to make sure that we hit and when I say we, that's working with our physician partners to make sure that they hit the injection target. So we've been fortunate enough to work with our sister medical device company to build and develop these delivery tools that are critical to the different applications. And again, I'll go back to it's about the patient. So 15 minutes in office, local anesthesia, get the injection, and maybe the best part of it all, after the treatment is held, then there's really no disruption to the rest of your day. You could go back to doing whatever you're doing and return to normal activity. This is a look at our clinical program. You'll see we have extensive experience in several different fields, most notably in female stress incontinence. We were co-founded by a urologist, so that's why a lot of our research is in this area. And you could see from our history, we've gone through multiple phase studies in the female SUI field, and we're in the early phase in areas of fecal incontinence, and we're also partnering with physicians on physician-sponsored studies in areas of tongue dysphagia and underactive bladder. Our clinical development program, as you can see, it's a platform. We're using the same or similar technology, and it's the same technology but similar doses, or in some indications different doses, but it's still all arranged around the same kind of commonalities, and those are, we're focusing on unmet medical needs. We all know from an autologous manufacturing platform, the volumes will never match anything standard of care for larger disorders, so we're trying to find and give physicians another tool in their toolbox to treat something that maybe they don't have, or maybe this is something specific to specific patients that what they currently have isn't suited for. We don't work in giant muscles. We're not trying to regrow massive biceps. It's smaller muscles, more focused, that we believe that the technology could actually help. And we, as a company, we generally focus on non-life-threatening. I'm not going to say non-serious because, trust me, these are serious and debilitating disorders that the patients go through. Our parent company, as I said, Cook Incorporated, has been very generous. They've supported us through the beginning and grassroots efforts. So we got the company started. We leased lab space for a couple years, got some clinical data. Then we opened up our first facility, and to which we worked through a lot of the work up to date. And then we opened up a second facility for expansion, having business continuity, redundancy, and fortunately this facility is right across the street, so we've been able to continue to work on future while we're working on the clinical trials of today. So we've been able to build a lot of core competencies over the years, and that's helped us learn, it's helped us adjust, and it's helped us go forward and hopefully share with other people in the field. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about commercialization, because that's really what it's ultimately all about. And I don't know about some of you or how long you've been on this road, but for me, sometimes it feels like somewhere between an endless road and a stoppage in the road and a roadblock. So how do we get through these barriers? How do we keep on the journey of this continuous road? Take our lead indication for, again, female SUI, where we've treated coming up on 600 patients for an autologous therapy. So out of those 600 patients, about 20% of those patients have actually gone through a previous surgery and for their incontinence, and that surgery did not help them. And they are now faced with getting the surgery again, which if it didn't work the first time, it may not work again. And there's also data supporting that there may be higher morbidity if you do it again, some other type of treatment, or nothing at all. And these patients, they don't want that option of nothing at all. Some of our patients have come into our trials after having up to 5 surgeries to try to fix their disorder. So they are looking for something. So this is great. So we focused on this subpopulation. It's an unmet medical need, and we have good supporting data. It fits our mechanism of action. Oops. And last year, we got an RMAT for this population, and that was really great. We celebrated. It was a celebration not only for us and our efforts, but our patients and physicians, because this is the first time really the FDA acknowledged SUI as a seriously debilitating disorder. So this is all great. But when the rubber hit the road, and again, I don't have any intent other than sharing our story, it hasn't been that, okay, now this quicker march to commercialization. If you look at our long-ranging story, first patient treated in 2004. We went through a series of dosing studies, of course, safety and feasibility studies early on. And then we got into 3 randomized placebo-controlled studies, which we're still going on today. As I said, we got the RMAT, and from there we were gearing up for multiple conversations with the agency, but it was a hard time getting on the schedule, and we weren't able to meet with them. And when we did, the conversation was, yeah, it was very encouraging, you're on the right path, but we want to see more clinical data. So after the program in multiple trials, multiple randomized controlled studies, getting the RMAT, showing statistical significance against placebo, having an incredibly strong safety profile, the next steps were really back on the same path to collect more data, which is understandable in some cases, but now we're faced with doing another study, which we're going to do. We're going to remain committed to it. But if you tally it all up and if everything goes well from here on out, a program for something so needed for patients that are so desperate for a treatment is going to take more than 21 years to get to them. That's that. But what about our other indications? And that's what I always also worry about, because a company of our size, we're really focused on getting that there. So our other indications, we can't put as much attention to them. And I could tell you that these patients are suffering as well, too. They enroll with this anticipation and excitement of something that may be able to help them that didn't exist before. So again, a bit of a cautionary tale that if these types of therapies take so long, then other promising therapies may not see the light of day. And again, we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep trying to develop these other indications. But that's just the reality of what we're facing. So I'll wrap up here, or sort of wrap up with another slide or two. And again, when I started out, I said I was just going to talk about our story, but there is a bit of a rallying cry. I was so happy to see a lot of the committees that have been formed, the leadership of ARM and other entities, to really drive this collaboration and to work with solutions. But we still have a lot of work to do. Trust me, I've lived it, my team has lived it, and we know that any one piece of the puzzle could be expanded into a monster puzzle in itself. If the good people from BioLife want me to have their time slot, I could fill up theirs with just talking about one little thing, that just looking at cell particulates and how to measure them in a final product, that has taken years of so much work to do. So there's a lot of work to do, and what we have to be mindful of, and we hear a lot of great research and a lot of great talk about cancer and brain disorders, and that stuff obviously incredibly needed, and nobody's not impacted by something like that. So that research absolutely has to go on. But again, we have to focus on other disorders as well, because there are patients that need it. We're proud that we also work in areas that are focused on women and female disorders. And, again, if certain programs take 20 plus years, other programs just may not see the light of day. So that's really critical. And again, so the question is, so what can we do together? So I'll end there, of course, thanking everybody for the time, and just with one last thing. So these things we're doing, let's just keep doing them, and hopefully now you know a little bit more about Cook Myosite, what we've been doing, our experience. So please feel free to reach out to myself or to anybody on our team. Let's keep the conversations going, and let's get solutions together so we could treat all of these diseases. Thank you very much.